Amara had just finished a heavy plate of jollof rice and chicken at a popular eatery in Port Harcourt and immediately felt an urgent need to ease herself. She politely asked a waiter where the restroom was, and he pointed her toward a short hallway near the back of the restaurant. She hurried down, but when she got to the restroom door, it was locked. Someone was already inside. As she waited impatiently, something else caught her eye, a half-open stainless swinging door leading to what seemed like the kitchen. Out of frustration and curiosity, she leaned closer to peep inside, but she couldn't clearly understand what she was seeing. Because she could no longer hold herself, Amara pushed the swinging door gently and stepped inside. What she saw snatched the breath from her throat. The kitchen, which she expected to be clean and orderly, looked like the aftermath of a war. Dirty plates were stacked high, almost touching the ceiling. Raw fish and beef were left uncovered, and flies danced freely over them. Two women, who appeared to be the cooks, had uncombed hair tied loosely, and their aprons were so brown and stained it seemed like they had never been washed. The tiled floor had turned black from dirt, and just as Amara took in more details, she saw 3 fat rats scurrying across the room as if they owned the place. But the worst was the head cook, a huge, dark-skinned woman wearing a faded red sleeveless gown. Her teeth were brown from years of neglect, and her armpits were covered in thick, bushy hair. Then, right before Amara's eyes, the woman used the same spoon she had just scratched her armpit with to stir the pot of stew. Amara's stomach flipped. She pressed one hand against her belly and covered her nose with the other as the foul smell of rotten food and dirty oil filled her nostrils. She rushed out of the kitchen before her legs gave way, walked quickly past the eating area, and stepped outside, where she finally bent over and vomited everything. Amara grew up in a home where neither parent had time for the children. Her father was a long-distance bus driver who was constantly away, sometimes for months. Her mother was a busy trader at Mile 1 Market who returned home only at night when her children were already asleep. Because her parents were never around, Amara, the eldest of 3, had to take care of herself and her siblings. Since she never learned how to cook, she grew up relying on street food, snacks, and cheap meals from roadside vendors. It became her lifestyle. Even when she became a graduate and was posted to Enugu for her NYSC, she still continued her eating out habit. Her roommate and close friend, Kayamika, always cooked at home and tried to convince her to stop eating outside. "Amara, it's safer and cheaper to cook at home," Kayamika would always say. But Amara never listened. One sunny afternoon, Amara and Kayamika were returning from school when a handsome businessman named Kelechi approached them. He later confessed that he liked Amara, and they began talking often. Kelechi frequently took her to fine restaurants, and before long, the two started dating. One day, Kelechi visited her house and, feeling hungry, asked her to prepare something for him. "Let's go to the market," he said with a smile. "I want to taste your cooking." Amara panicked. "Kelechi, why cook? Let's just order food from a good restaurant." But Kelechi insisted. When he realized she genuinely couldn't cook, he became disappointed. Without saying much, he left her room abruptly. Amara felt embarrassed, but hid the truth from Kayamika. A few days later, Amara discovered a new fancy restaurant called Golden Spoon, which looked neat and classy from the outside. The prices were surprisingly cheap, and their meals tasted wonderful. She immediately became a regular customer. But one afternoon, after ordering takeout at work, she found a dead cockroach in her food. She threw the food away, but foolishly ignored the red flag. A week later, she fell violently sick and was hospitalized. The doctor said she had contracted a deadly bacteria commonly found in extremely dirty environments. Kayamika took care of her until she recovered. But once she felt better, Amara went back to her normal lifestyle and even continued eating from the same restaurant. Within a month, she was hospitalized 2 more times. After the 3rd illness, Amara decided to investigate. She went back to Golden Spoon, ordered her usual meal, but instead of eating quickly, she analyzed every spoon carefully. After the meal, she asked for the restroom again. It was occupied, and then she saw the swinging door. She peeped inside and saw the filth, the rats, the flies, the dirty aprons, the raw meat in the open. the unwashed plate, and the head cook scratching her armpit with the same spoon she used to cook. Her heart sank. If such a beautiful restaurant looked like this behind closed doors, then how many more had been fooling her all her life? Amara returned home feeling ashamed and foolish. That evening, she cleaned her kitchen thoroughly for the first time in a long while. She downloaded cooking tutorials and bought pots, plates, ingredients, and seasonings. When Kayamika came home and saw Amara cooking, she was shocked but quietly joined her. The food they made wasn't glamorous, but it tasted delicious. And for the first time, Amara felt proud of something she cooked with her own hands. From then on, she cooked her meals, packed lunch to work, and gradually improved. Her colleagues noticed the change. Kelechi eventually returned, apologized for how he reacted, and encouraged her progress instead of criticizing her. Their relationship improved, and months later, they eventually got married.